Hi, my name is Sally Bernard, an artist, author, and spiritual experiencer. Welcome to Call Me Zena, a true story into the spiritual realms. Join me as I sit and discuss the journey of self-discovery and awakening with the help of my spirit guides. It's time to trust your intuition. This is your inner knowings. Through questions and points of conversation, I can help others feel empowered. With the ability to touch people's past lives, I help others connect and not feel alone. Sit with me and call in live, 888-994-4995. Hello everybody, here I am again, Sally. I'm sorry I missed last week, but I had an amazing person that took my place, and he's here today again by popular demand, my fiance, Steve Sperling. Okay, hi Steve. Nice to see you again on the show. If you watched last week, you'll recognize who he is, but this is my fiance, and in the audience I have Lynn Everard, who is my book editor, so I feel a very happy person today. So we're going to start the show hopefully with some, maybe even discussing some past lives today. We'll see how it goes. I'm just open to questions. Please call in. I have no idea what you're going to ask me, but my spirit guides help me with the answers. So here we go. Thank you.
Well, I have an immediate question for you, and that is, you mentioned that I stood in for you last week. How was it sitting at home watching someone else at the helm on your show?
Well, I was laughing, I was crying, I was going through a whole lot of different emotions. You did talk a lot about me, which seemed very strange. I was observing the show through my eyes and listening to what you both had to say about me. But I want to thank you very much for standing in for me.
Well, you are my favorite subject. So
thank
yes,
you. Thank you, Steve. Okay, so we have not rehearsed anything. This is all just taking place right now, and my spirit guides are the ones, anybody that's watched the show know that they help me with my answers. I have no idea what anyone's going to ask me, so please feel free to ask me whatever you feel that you want to. Okay.
Well, you know, we've been through a lot of things that we call naturalies, and it took me a little while at the beginning to understand and really accept everything that you are and everything that we now believe in. But what are some of the things that you remember that happened between us that we now call naturalies?
Well, we've had quite a lot of things. I think that I needed this I knew what I believed, and so much had happened to me. But in order for you to understand maybe where I'm coming from, which definitely has helped our relationship, because I couldn't have been, I believe, with anybody that didn't understand me. I am a little different. But we've had so much validation. And I think actually anyone that tuned in last week, that story with the feather was amazing. I have a guide who is White Feather, who I had not mentioned anything to Steve other than having a little feather in my living room. And to just go over that, because it sticks out in my mind, I was in my bedroom getting ready to go out for dinner, and we're standing there, and suddenly we're not outside, we're in the house, and a feather falls on his head. And you can guess by now it was a white feather. And then from his head it went into his hand. And at that point, I'm surprised. Even today, I still get that aha moment, and then continue to say, this is my guide. Where does a feather come from a ceiling? Maybe outside, but this is from my house, in the ceiling, just from the ceiling, falling into your head. Yeah. So that was one of the things, one of the great things that stood out in my mind.
I think it's very important that your audience know that not only are you a great show host, but you are a psychic and a medium and an empath. And one thing that stood out early on in our relationship that gave me that aha moment, it was something so silly and so small, but I was thinking about having a chocolate chip cookie, and 2 seconds later you said, would you like a chocolate chip cookie?
That was just the very beginning, right? That's how it started. Now, of course, it's a naturally, which we always call it a naturally. So many things which we could take as coincidence have not been. And in order for you to maybe even understand me in the very beginning, you had, I believe truly that we were getting help to show you this so that you could see where I was coming from and that I hadn't completely gone crazy. because Steve and I knew each other 22 years ago, and at that point you were not ready, and I wasn't ready for what was happening to me either. And we met up again about close to nearly a year now, I guess.
Yes. And your psychic ability appears over and over again. Something happened just last week as we were having some work done in the bathroom. Would you like to expand on that?
Yes, I would. I have had premonitions, but and I think, oh my gosh, and I really don't know what to do with premonitions because I'm not sure of the timing of these things. But I was having the bathroom, the second bathroom we were having redecorated, and in was going a shower door, a glass door. The guy was working in the bathroom. We were in the living room, and then suddenly, out of the blue, I said to Steve, wouldn't it be awful if the glass door broke and we heard this tremendous bang? A second after I said it, that's exactly what happened. The door completely shattered in the bathroom and we heard the bang. He was okay, but even for me, it was a tremendous shock. And what I got from that, I don't know what to do with these premonitions. Should I have gone in and said the glass is going to break? I mean, I only had a second, but that, again, he was fine. He just got a little cut in his chin. But I believe we have these things to validate that we're getting help. But with a premonition, it's a little difficult because you don't know when it's going to happen.
More than likely, that wasn't your first premonition in life.
No,
do you remember some others that might be of interest?
Yes, I have a few. Again, I don't know the timing on these things. Unfortunately, I did see something that happened in London many years ago. I saw it 2 or 3 years before it happened, which was a terrorist attack, actually. And I couldn't understand what my dream was. I saw an abbey. Without going into detail, I saw the whole thing. It only lasted about 3 or 4 minutes in my dream, but I could never get it out of my mind. I wasn't quite sure of the location, but when I saw it all it came flooding back. Is this a little scary for me? Nothing really scares me, but for me now, I'm wondering, what am I meant to do with these premonitions? Who could I have called? I mean, I had no chance, and I had no idea who I should even call, or whether they would even believe me. I don't know.
Also, you mentioned to me not too long ago that Aldo, who passed over a year ago now, on my birthday, said that he had taught you all that he could and that you had surpassed him, and it was time for you to become his mouthpiece.
Exactly. Now it's all making sense to me. He always told me that I would have another book. My first one was just my experiences on astral projection, what I had no idea about, but I was documenting it. But he said, no, this is just the beginning. You will have another book, definitely, which, if you know and have been listening to me, and my editor is here too right now, I am having another book coming out, which is going to have much more detail into it. And about 2 weeks, although he had said it earlier, 2 weeks before he passed, he came over to me and we were having dinner, and he said, Sally, you will be my mouthpiece. Everything that he taught me in the 18 years, which was incredible. He did not want to go as I'm doing a show today, but he knew that I would be doing this, and I feel that I'm honestly talking through him right now. Some of the things we feel his presence, and some of the things that I want to share with you, I believe Aldo is telling me to share. Yeah. I believe he put us together. I mean, you know, even just with the date that he passed on your birthday, you had never met Aldo, but you feel his presence, as Lynn, and we'll get to Lynn in a minute too, also feels as we're writing the book. So yes, we can pass it all off as coincidence, but it's too much. It's too much.
Yes. You have told me a number of things that Aldo has done that you couldn't imagine how he knew, like when you were injured.
Yes. Just to reiterate who Aldo really is, because there may be new viewers listening in. He came into my life about 18 years ago when I started what is astral projection. I knew nothing about it, but the night that I actually started, which I called flying, I didn't know what it was, he was there to greet me the next day at work, and he proceeded to tell me everything that had happened in my dream. Today, he was in my dream. I mean, he was helping me when it started. So, sorry, can you get back to the question? Because I sometimes lose what you asked me.
Yes, tell us and tell the audience about how Aldo continued to teach you and some of the remarkable things that happened specifically when you were injured.
Yes, I actually have broken 2 shoulders over the last 10 or 12 years. And the very first time I knew Aldo, my shoulder, I was laying, I broke it, I fell down in a parking lot. There was no way I could even call 911 because I was in pain and I had knocked myself out. I end up in the emergency room. I had told no one. Within 10 minutes in the emergency room, Aldo was standing there. And I just couldn't figure out how in the world he knew where to come. But that was just the beginning. Many other times, the second time I had a fall on the other shoulder and broke it, he was in the hospital within 15 minutes too. These things don't happen. I made no phone calls. If my car broke down, he was there. He had the ability to do this, and he came into my life and passed a lot of these things on to me.
So you broke both shoulders.
I did.
It's a good thing you don't have any more shoulders.
No, and one I've got a plate, so I hope I won't break the other one again because I have no plate in that. But he was always there. He always managed to find me wherever I was.
And he would watch over you and almost to
Yes.
the point of annoyance at times you told
Well,
me.
yes, today I appreciate it beyond belief what he was able to do for me. But, you know, when you're right in the middle of everything, it's difficult to get that appreciation out. I thought, who is this man? It was just a friendship relationship. I loved him dearly, but it was no more than friends. And he was always there, always whenever I needed him, he was always there. He taught me. We would have hours and hours and hours of just, you only have me to tell you this, he's not here to do this. But what he knew and what he understood about past lives, and in one of my past lives today, means more to me than anything. I see it, I feel it.
Sally, what do you think Aldo's message for you ultimately was?
Okay, that's a good question. I'm glad you're getting me to talk about that, Dawn. He wanted me to be his mouthpiece. He told me I was ready. I never knew that he was going to pass, but he told me I was ready now to carry on his message. He even, as Steve said in the beginning of the show, said, I'm even overtaking him. It's hard for me to understand that because he knew so much, but he wanted me to carry on where he left off. He said to me, you are ready. 2 weeks before he passed from this earth, he said.
What do you think his message was or is?
For me to show people through my experiences of what have happened to me, that anything you do is possible. Again, you have to believe this, but what I feel, and I'm going to say I'm not special. I tuned into something from I'm starting to paint 18 years ago from never having a lesson in my life. I'm drawing from past lives. He wanted me to go into this in detail to show people. I have the validation, my art behind me. I've never had a lesson, nor was I ever interested in art, but I have 160 paintings. He would tell me the meanings behind my paintings, and I have many of his messages, which will be in the book. It's in my first book, but I'll have more in the second, maybe even talking more about Aldo too, which we'll get back to Lynn in a minute, and he can explain a little more about that. But his message was so great. I never thought that I could pass it on. He told me I could, and that's what I'm doing today.
The amazing thing about some of your artwork is that some of them are period pieces that are so exact that you could not have been able to draw them without you having
a memory.
Not been there.
I completely agree. I didn't know what I was drawing. He would be able to interpret, because in that particular lifetime, which was 15th, 16th century time, I don't remember. I'm remembering now. He did, because he was in that lifetime. And he's actually pointing out to me. He's not telling me to draw something. I'm drawing it, telling me what I've drawn. And for validation for myself, and him telling me this, he would say, go into the internet. You're going to see what you've just drawn on the internet. I knew nothing about the Renaissance or anything at that period, so I thought, but I'm drawing from there. And here he's telling me what it is. I mean, even to some of the things that I described, a bedroom that I had in those days. I could see it. I don't remember a whole lot from that lifetime. And he would go on to tell me what I'm describing. How is this possible if we weren't in that lifetime together?
Yeah. And speaking of past lives, last week I misspoke when I was asked a question about past lives. I said we believe that we have had past lives together, but couldn't put a finger on what we were doing. But you brought to my memory the fact that you have a definite feeling of where we were and what we were doing.
Yes, I do, and it's actually to do with entertainment. So we're all sitting here. I feel that everybody at this moment that's in this room too was connected in these past lifetimes. I believe myself that we are drawn to people in this lifetime that, we may meet many people that we were, but the ones that are significant in this lifetime. I believe that we were in the entertainment business in a previous life. I believe that Lynn, who you don't mind me saying this, Lynn, at this point, and Dawn and Freddie, I believe that we were all together, and here we are sitting in the same room. Too many things. I feel very natural doing this from never having done anything like this. I think you feel the same.
Yes.
And I'm sure if well, obviously Freddie and Dawn, they have their show, but Lynn, I think perhaps you feel the same too. Lynn, are you there?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
I thought maybe you'd gone back to that lifetime.
Yeah, I was writing something this morning, and I realized that one of the important roles of past lives in this life is to help us access the best of who we were in these various past lives, and then bring them into this life right now for the world we're living in today.
Yes, I actually agree with this. I had talked to Aldo a little bit because I believe, again, this is my belief, but it's rung so true to me, that we've had many, many lifetimes, as Aldo would tell me, but the relevant ones that we need to learn in this lifetime will come through. And I believe that, yes, I believe that the entertainment one in this particular life that I'm feeling that we had in another lifetime is very relevant to what we're doing now. So that would be one that would come through, and we'll meet people from that particular lifetime. The one from the 15th century.
It was from the late 1800s, early 1900s, burlesque and vaudeville, that type of entertainment.
I absolutely do, and the few people that were in that life, which are here now too. When I mentioned Paris, which to me is very dear to me, and I didn't know why, the Moulin Rouge, the places there, and some of the things that we talk about, how coming through into this lifetime, because we're all together accessing that here now.
So recently when we saw the Broadway show Moulin Rouge, how did that make you feel?
It made me feel that I had lived in that lifetime before. Everything, the characters, everything about that, the cafe, everything. I loved it. Oh, okay, we have a call in. Thank you. Hello? Hello, call in. Dawn, I think we're not having the phone call coming through. Oh, Freddie, I didn't see you here. Hello? I believe someone's just called in. Hello. Okay. Maybe we needed this little pause to read.
Maybe they left you a voicemail.
Okay.
Sally?
Hello? Yes.
Sally?
Yes, this is Sally. Who am I speaking with?
It's Cousin Linda.
Oh, hi, Linda. It took a little while for you to come through. Hello, Linda. Hi, nice to hear from you. Do you have a question for us?
Hi, Steve.
Hello, Linda. Can't wait to see you.
I have a comment and a question.
Okay.
Sally, maybe you could share with the audience our experience of the meeting and then what happened in the restaurant when we were talking about my mom and Louise.
Oh, that's correct. Yes, that was only about a month and a half ago, right? I know that you're yes, I remember. We were discussing my daughter that had just passed recently, and we were discussing your mother. And I believe that a lot of our messages when they're around come through electricity. But I had not told you that, correct? And suddenly, as we're talking,
Correct.
we're in the restaurant. Well, you can guess the next part of it. The lights went out and came back on, right? As I think that was
Yes,
correct.
but
Yeah,
the
that's right.
lights were only out above our table.
As we were discussing my daughter and your mother. How, I mean, yes, it can happen, but at the split second that we were just discussing them, and I know you're just beginning your journey, Linda, but I think it's all we get the validation that they're around. And, you know, I know you felt it too.
Yes, and I told several of my friends about it as well. Now, since you're talking about past lives, and now we seem to have a delay. I'm hearing myself after I'm speaking.
Yes, turn down your speaker.
Okay. Sally, you've met me and you spent only a couple of hours with me each day, but you know my relationship with Steve, and you've known it before you even met me, just from Facebook. Do you think Steve and I knew each other in a past life?
Okay, I'm glad you asked that, actually, because as you're saying that, I feel, and everybody knows if you listen to the last show, the goosebumps are my validation. Yes, of course you knew each other. You're too close in this, well, I can't say too close because we do, but I feel that there's a stronger bond beyond this that was in a previous life. Glad you brought that up, Linda, because I probably wouldn't have known or had the feeling, but as you're saying that, definitely you knew each other, yes. Well,
Don't know. I mean, you can't tell anything more than that.
well, not at this point, but you know, we can talk again on the show, or maybe we'll make the phone call later on during the week and we can discuss it a little bit more. But I do feel it, and we'll definitely talk about it, and maybe we'll have another show about it. It's not that you put me on the spot. I like my questions, but I do believe there are other people too that are waiting too, and I feel that
No, I totally understand
to
that.
get into it, it may take a little while, because I want to be, you know, 100% accurate. But I do feel that you were definitely in a lifetime together, absolutely, and as I was with you too.
And many people feel that Sally can answer and give messages on demand. Sometimes it doesn't work that way. Sally has to receive the messages and not just from the immediate question. She could get this message a week from now.
It happens a lot of the time, but you know, I am on the air and I know there are people waiting too, so it might take me a little while. But thank you for calling in, Linda, and we'll definitely discuss this more at another time. Thank you.
Well, you're welcome. I can't wait to see you guys on the big day.
Thank you very much. Okay. Thank you.
My love.
Thank you, Linda.
Thank you, Linda. What big day was she referring to?
I guess it was our wedding, right?
Oh, that. Okay.
Okay. Lynn, you were saying something, I think. What were we discussing?
Entertainment.
We're talking about past lives.
Oh, that's
and
right, yes,
their impact on this life.
Yes, and that's a very important, because otherwise people probably think I'm crazy anyway, but I'd be more crazy if I had all these lifetimes and the flashes coming back to me. We're only going to pick out, this Aldo used to tell me this too, the ones that would be relevant or we have lessons to learn in this lifetime. We've had so many, in my belief, that we've had so many, we couldn't possibly go into them all. But the ones that are relevant will come through. And that's what's happening. I feel that the one I had in my past with Aldo, I feel the one that now that we're together is very relevant. I mean, can there be new souls that come into our life and it's just this one? Yes, of course. But everything has a reason and everything has a purpose. And that's important too. We're here to learn. That's important. If we believe that, we'll always take something from whomever we meet.
Sally, maybe you could speak about, you said that everything has a reason, but I think sometimes people get caught up in wanting to know why everything happens. And could you talk about how, the timing of things like that and whether or not it's actually necessary to know why something happened?
Well, I think it'll break through the reason why, because there'll be a reason that something that may be going on. Timing is important too. Something that's going on in this life we might need to know, but we might also need help. So somebody can come into our life and it'll explain it. We may not be the person that's understanding at that point, but we don't know the person, this is coming to me, that we're talking to is actually going to give us a message. I'm just beginning to understand this as I'm saying this to you, because people come and go in our lives, but I truly believe, even if it's just for a few minutes, whomever we meet has been pre-planned. Not everyone is important in this lifetime, but I think that most things have a message. We're here, in my belief, and I'm going to say that again because I understand people are not going to believe what I believe, but I've had the validation. Everything has a reason. The reason is to learn. We're here to learn. We go through many, many different lifetimes to learn. So if we're walking around oblivious to everything, we need someone to say, look, wake up. A lot of the times we don't. I had that experience 18 years ago through validation, through my paintings, and through Aldo coming into my life. But I'm not the only one. Many people do, but we ignore it sometimes. We may ignore it. Somebody else will come in and try to give us that message. They may not even realize they're doing it. That's also coming to me too. But they are giving us a message somewhere.
Yeah, thank you.
So getting back to us, how many times do you think we've been sitting on the sofa and one of us will be posturing in some way like this or like this, and the other one is doing the exact same thing at the same time?
Yes, and sometimes it's actually the opposite side too. Yeah, it sounds silly and it's only a little thing, but you know what? When it happens so many times, it has to have some sort of a meaning.
Right.
I mean, I don't have all the answers or claim to have all the answers, but it is strange. I mean, it's strange that we're sitting, well, maybe even now, if you look how we're sitting. That's a good example of what happens, yes. It's a lot of these messages are to validate that there is more going on. We could overlook them, and most of us do, and I did for many years. But when you begin to open up, Steve, I think you see that there's a deeper meaning behind it. They're here to help us. We have many, many guides that help us. I was lucky enough to have my guide here, and it took him a while to explain to me. I was stubborn, but I did open up, and I can honestly tell you, all good things happen. You're not as worried or scared anymore. Life has more meaning. It's a good feeling. For people that are in the audience or that are listening to us right now, don't ignore some of the things that you think that are coincidence. Usually they're not. And look into it a little deeper and say, well, that was crazy. What else may happen to me? And be aware of your surroundings and things that happen.
Yeah, there have been too many things that have happened that cannot possibly be coincidence. Something that comes to mind, we were taking a drive up to Vero Beach, and we were talking about Louise, and her initials were LCS, and just as soon as we started talking about her, the car in front of us had a license plate LCS.
Yeah, and for our viewers, and I know I mentioned this, but just to let you know, my daughter passed about 5 months ago, and that were her initials. So, I mean, to see her initials as we're talking about her, and a car that kind of overtook us, really, went onto the other lane, there were her initials right there. How do they do it? I don't know, but it happens many
just
times.
As an additional validation, as if, you know, I needed more proof, we started talking about an acupuncturist by the name of Dr. Au, A-U, and all of a sudden the license plate to the left started with A-U.
Yes,
So
yes.
these things can't possibly be coincidence.
Sometimes they're very subtle, but when you're open to it, as you know, Steve, you begin to see so much more. Sometimes I look at cars and look at the license plates. It doesn't seem to work that way. It's when you unexpectedly see that, which we weren't even thinking about that, and there was one thing after another that happened on that trip. Yes, and it's comforting. It brings comfort, especially if you have just lost someone too. You can't get over the loss, but you can feel them around you, and that's very comforting. As you know too, you had lost your son, which people know too. When we're brought together, where you've lost a son and I've lost my daughter, and there wasn't that much age difference between the two of them. And you know, I feel comfortable talking about it, as I think you do too, when you realize there's so much more going on that we don't know. It brings comfort.
Yeah.
So anybody else out there?
I know you need to go to commercial break, but before you do you think the fact that you both lost your children had something to do with their souls bringing you back together?
You're making, sometimes your questions make me cry, Dawn. Yes, I'm absolutely sure of that. It's like they were up there, they saw the whole situation and said, I mean, I have no proof, but I feel it. And let's get them together. They knew each other 22 years ago. It's about time they met again. That's the only way I can say it. Yes.
Yes, and now we have a wonderful section of pictures on the wall in one of the rooms with our dear children who have left us. So.
And it brings such comfort. They are, like, my daughter is there and your son is there. It's just, I don't know if I could have handled it as well if I didn't believe all this, but because you do and I do, it brings comfort to both of us when we walk into that room and see it. You helped me tremendously. Okay.
I mean, we were brought together because I heard that Louise was
That's how we
ill.
met, yes, yes. He heard that and made the phone call, and we've been inseparable ever since. Now we're going to break for a commercial. Please come back for more of our conversation.
A true story, Call Me Zena, is the telling of Sally Bernard. Born in London, England at the end of the Second World War, she came to the U.S. in 1979. A mother of 2 and grandmother of 4, she settled in Florida and worked in real estate. While going through a difficult time in her life, she was admitted into a hospital overnight in December of 2005. While settling back into her life, she began having vivid dreams and documenting them. By the 3rd dream, a lady gave her a message to draw. With no artistic background or interest in art or history, Sally listened to her dreams and grabbed paper and crayons. Today, she has over 150 pieces of inspiring art and poetry. This book follows her journey and interpretations of these messages. She describes in detail how she's able to astral project and who she has met along her travels, including her spirit guides. This book will show you how anything is possible with an open mind. These events have changed Sally's life's direction, and this book will show you how to change yours. Purchase Call Me Zena on Amazon today.
This world, this life, this illusion. What is going on, we ask? What is happening? Why not take time and see what is happening? This world as we know it, it seems so real, and yet so far away from where we've come. Corruption, greed, anger, power, revenge. Please wake up. We can change what is around us. How, we may ask. Learn to go back to where we were. Then we will have the clues. Then we can change and go forward. Please take the time. Do not fall into the game which we have put upon ourselves. We can change. We can make a difference. We have the power, each and every one of us. Go in peace. Go with love. Go as one. Zena. You have been watching Call Me Zena with your host, Sally Bernard. As an artist, author, and spiritual experiencer, know that you could always seek me out for resources. Visit artbysallybernard.com today. Now, back to the show. Well, hi, everybody again. We had a few-minute break, and I'm back here now, ready for questions. Call-ins, studio audience, or Steve. Or my book editor, Lynn. And,
I have a question for you.
and Freddie and Dawn. Yes.
Things are changing since the past couple of years between the elections and anxieties. People are just, their emotions are suppressed. They're not back to networking, to growing business. How do you see we can grow our business here in light of all the things that are happening, the external forces?
Well, my answer is absolutely you can. You can. I believe in the law of attraction, where what you think and you want, it goes beyond that, because the people that you want here or in your life to succeed with this, which of course you are, the people will automatically be drawn to you. What I say to people when they ask something similar to that is, we're energy, as far as I can feel and see. believe what you want to happen, and it'll attract. That energy goes to the people. If you have a focus on what you want here, Dawn, or anybody for that, you know, they feel that they want something, focus in on it. Think about it. Think who you would like here. Who would you like to be talking to? What you'd like to do in what we call the future. Again, I believe there is no time, so it's all happening. But feel it. Everything about you, just know that what you feel can happen. I feel, personally, I'm sitting here, I feel all good things about what you guys are doing. I've told you that before, so I'm not just saying it now. I feel very good. I feel that you're attracting the right people into this studio without a shadow of a doubt. You may not know exactly right now, but it'll open up to you where you're going and what you want. You have all good things ahead of you. I totally feel that. I mean, I'm saying it on the air. I feel comfortable saying that.
Thank you.
Sally, numerology has been a big part of what you believe in and what drives you. Perhaps you can explain about numerology and specifically the angel number 1111, which has been a big part of our life.
Yes. Again, this is something I found out maybe about, well, actually before all this happened to me, I kept seeing, today a lot of people, more people are seeing 1111, but I saw this maybe about 22 years ago. I'd wake up, sometimes I'd go to bed at 10, I'd sit up in my bed, and there's the clock saying 11:11, just waking me up out of a dream or wherever I was. So constantly over the years, I used to see 11:11, and I know today many other people are seeing it. To me, it was showing me that there is a little more, again, with that number associated with 1111. I believe it's an awakening number. To go into this would be more of a show, but people can look it up on the internet. It's written. I did not know that, and how I found out about it was purely by accident. I heard some people talking, but the curiosity got to me at that point, and it's definitely something in your life too. You had a major something happened, and when you told me the date, it was 11:11, right?
That is
I'm not
correct.
sure of the year, but it was 11:11, and I said, okay, then you're associated with that number 11:11. There's many people have different views, but it's definitely a spiritual number, as is 22, as is 444, but mine was definitely 11:11.
And I believe in my research of it that 1111 is a number that shows you're on the right path and that things are going in the right direction.
Yes, you're beginning to understand more. I actually, shortly after I kept seeing it, and I had some people I was in a yoga class and they were all talking about it. I'd not heard it, but they told me there was a book out. And I went and bought the book. And I've read it many, many times through another girlfriend of mine. We used to go over and over it. And every time I went back to it, the meanings of this got deeper and deeper, and I saw so much. And one particular chapter was the invisible coming visible. And those words ring so true to me. The invisible coming visible. And that's been the story of my life, actually. It's all becoming very visible to me. Mm-hmm. So to me, this is definitely not coincidence. And many times I hear people talk about it. I'm an artist, and I'm sure that I can mention Uri Geller because I did actually meet him, and we had a lot in common. I loved meeting him. But recently I was looking at his artwork, and what did I see right in the corner was 1111. Yeah. So. And
just last week when I flew to Alabama, my flight was due in at 11:26, and I get off the plane by the baggage carousel, and it says, now in at 11:11.
Yeah.
I took a picture of it and I sent it to you.
And when you begin to see it, I mean, you don't want to force it. Like if it's 11:09, you're going to look at the clock and wait till it's 11:11.
Right.
It's a split decision. You suddenly look and it's 11:11. Right. As I was waking up from a sleep.
The amazing part of all of this is that through the first 72 years of my life, none of this had any meaning to me. I didn't give it a second thought. And this past year with you has enlightened me so much about so many things. So I can't wait to start our future together on our wedding day.
And I think it's awfully important, Steve, that you are on this show from time to time, because you were someone that I came into your life, and the first part of when I met you in my life and your life, you really didn't want any part of this. I was just to begin to open up. Was this coincidence? What do you think?
No, not
No?
at all.
So-
And as we've discussed, and I discussed last week on the show, that you know exactly how much to give me at a time. You know that you must go slowly, otherwise I can be on overload.
Yeah, and this is important too, again for our listeners, because Aldo I was you 18 years ago. You know more than I knew when I met Aldo. I did, but I didn't understand it, and I really took very little interest. But over the years, and it took him 18 years to feel he knew he could leave me, that I already had the knowledge of what I needed to know. But he would always say to me, we would be talking maybe for 3 hours, and he'd say, no, we've got to stop. I would ask him a question, he'd go, no, little by little, because we are human here, and our mind can only take so much in. This is completely different to what we believe when we're here. So you have to, well, everybody has their own pace. I know I had to take it slowly. And today, this is my life. So I feel that my teaching you right now, we also have to go slowly, but we're going pretty quick because you're getting a lot of validations here, Steve, that I did through Aldo, but he still took his time to explain it to me.
But I hope I never learn it all, so you don't leave me the way Aldo left you.
No, and we're never going to learn it all. I've just started my journey. I mean, I feel like I've opened up, but there is so much to learn. I hope I'm not going anywhere right now.
Sally, I got a question. With 2023 on the horizon, how does one prepare for either good or bad based on 2022? If you're having a good year or a bad year, how do you prepare to learn more to move on to 2023?
Well, my first reaction to that question, Freddie, is just to have an open mind. There are things going on that we don't understand, good and bad. But as long as you prepare yourself, yes, bad things are going to happen. We're here on this earth, and we can't escape that. But also, and I'm try to be a very positive person. So when you see things, or especially on the news, we've got to listen to the news. Some people say to me, oh, I'll never listen to the news. I'm not at that stage. I do need to know what's going on. But don't take in all the negative vibrational energy. Just try to look at it from a positive point of view. It's hard, but I think that follows into your life too. A lot of bad things are happening, but on the other hand, a lot of good things are happening. That's the balance. Try to, whatever you hear, that you say, oh my goodness, that's terrible, and it probably is at that point because you're saying that, but try to not let it rule, even for that day, your thoughts. Try to turn it more into a positive. It's hard, but look for, I was just telling Steve this just before we got on the show. Vibrational energy is contagious. I love this place. I come in and I'm happy and I'm very upbeat. I try to give my message as an upbeat person. I worked in sales, in a very difficult sales. Most people didn't particularly want to buy what I was selling. So my only way that I was doing that, and I see it now, because that was a negative, but I made people laugh all through the sales presentation. And that helped me tremendously because I didn't know what I was doing, but I was lifting my vibrational energy. And this is coming to me so strong. It's so very, very important. And I said this to Steve, so it's not your question it's directing me into telling you this. What did I say? I said, this place has so much good energy because the two of you together, Dawn and Freddie, when I listen to your show, it's so upbeat, and that's contagious. Otherwise, if it's too low key, we tend to start thinking and then we tend to get into negative. Upbeat is so important. Laughter, fun is so important. I try, and hopefully I'll always give this message that way. It's important. Does that kind of answer a little bit?
It does. Self-awareness, I'm getting the message. Self-awareness is vital. And then as a teacher that you are, having other people buy into it to understand it. I mean, I look at Steve, completely different person than when I first met him. Completely different. And I'm saying it on the air, and I barely know him, but I feel that he's completely different. Self-awareness, important for the future of next year, especially how do you treat those who just don't hear the music yet? How do you get over on that situation that you can still continue to teach?
Yes, and I often think about this, and my answer to that is we teach by example. With what's happened to me, I try to give my message, I try to make it funny, I try to make it entertaining. However, it is a message, and I'm not, it's what's happened to me. So there are people, and I believe you said on this show last week about people that are not, they're just never going to believe this. And that's all right. Maybe they've chosen this life not to wake up. But as long as we talk by example and carry this through, and there will be people along the way that, even if it's just a word or two, and I believe it needs to be a positive, because if they hear something, I mean, I've started with these premonitions. It's negative, some of them. And but I still have to present it, I think. I'm not sure quite what to do with that at this point. But they'll start following you and listen to you with what's happening to you. And gradually they're learning more. There is no time on this. It could take someone most of this lifetime. It took me 18 years to discover now where I am from 18 years ago. It's a learning process. It's a learning process. And as long as we try to be positive along the way, we try to do good things, we try to be grateful. Grateful is very good. We need to be grateful for what we have. Sometimes that's hard, but it's important. It's very important.
You said something very, very important a few moments ago, to lead by example. And that's all we can do. If people choose to hear us and listen and do better.
Exactly. I say to people that I had to ease up a little bit and stop running around so much. But I feel that we give ourselves messages. I've lost it now again. I'm sorry. Can you just say it again? This happens to me sometimes because I'm relying on my guides.
Leading by example.
Yes, we lead by example. But that example, four people could be sitting in a room. Two of them will listen, the other two will see it a completely different way because they're not ready. We have to be ready. But hopefully through my art and some of the things that I've experienced, it might get people to question, how in the world did that happen? Because I question myself. How, and I've said this before, how do I paint when I've never painted? How do I do paintings from other lifetimes of people, places, things that I have never seen, I'm putting on canvas? If you can, not everyone's going to believe that, and I understand, but I believe it because it happened to me. So it opened me up. It's hard for me to follow through with that if someone is very close-minded. Truthfully, I have to be honest about this. To me, it becomes now a little bit negative for me. So I may have to excuse myself from that person because there may be somebody else in that room or wherever I am who is willing to listen to me. This takes energy, and I don't want to bring my energy down. And that's not being rude to anybody. I'm just protecting myself a little bit of what happened to me. If they want to listen, I'll talk for 5 hours. I don't care. If they don't, I will walk away. That's where I am in my life. Whether that's right or wrong, I don't know.
Yes.
Then I got a question. If you have a calling and you want to get to a certain level, you're not going to run across anybody. Not everybody's going to be on your same wavelength. Not everybody's going to agree. That shouldn't stop you from continuing your calling, correct?
Right. No, absolutely, and that's kind of, you said it in a better way than I was saying it, actually. Absolutely. But I believe that by getting my message out, doing shows like this, or going into which we've talked about, into a vast audience on the stage, people that are coming in and watching me or even listening to me must have some sort of interest. Not everyone, but the majority of people are tuning into this show because they want to hear what I've got to say. That's a very good way of getting it out. If I'm in a public place and I'm at, say, at a wedding or wherever, and I start talking about this, most of the people listening to me may have no interest at all.
Or call you a heretic.
Years ago, I would have been burnt as a witch. But this is also coming to me. If I expose myself the way that I am right now, the people tuning in are the ones that want to hear me. So even if there's, I don't know, 100 people listening, let's say 90% of them they may not understand it, but they've opened enough to listen to me. Does that kind of make
That's good, yes.
good? Yeah.
Is it fair to say that having someone call it a calling makes it seem different than having a feel?
Sorry.
In other words, people have callings. I believe I have a calling. I believe that my calling has a lot to do with what I feel. Certain people are sort of afraid to say I have a calling. They are afraid to follow what they believe they should follow. They're afraid to acknowledge the fact that maybe you're here for a different reason. It doesn't matter what age you start or
Right.
finish your reason, but is it fair to say that a calling in today's world, the way it is right now, is it okay to use it irregardless of what people think?
Absolutely. And in fact, Steve and I had this conversation 2 days ago. I suddenly, out of the blue, I said, you know what? I'm going to talk about what I want to talk about. I don't care. I mean, I don't want to be rude to people, but if they don't want to listen, that's all right. I still have to be me. This is me. This is who I am. I have to talk well, not just out of the blue, but if someone asks me and there's someone else standing there, I can't help it. I'm not going to care what other people think of me. All my life, I've always tried to really think, what's this tried, I didn't want to. Do they like me? What's this person going to say about me? Maybe because I'm getting older, honestly, and I'm going to say this on the air, I don't care what they think about me today. I don't want to ever hurt anybody or be horrible to anybody, but it's left me. I don't care what they're going to say about me. I have a calling. I have something I need to do. And if I say I'm not going to do it, I'm actually lying to myself because this is what I'm here for. So I will continue to do this. And if you don't like me, I'm sorry. I don't like to be disliked, but it can happen.
Yeah, that's just in addition to the question you asked me last week. What about the naysayers? And I gave a similar answer.
We have to be true. Do you know what? And I hear this so often in my head. We have to be true to ourselves, true to thine self. It's so important. I started to hear this quite a long time ago, but I really didn't realize the significance of that. We have to be true to who we are. Otherwise, we're really acting. We're just trying to please or be somebody else that we're not. The truth is within us, and this is coming through so strong right now. Be who you are. Be authentic. Be honest, because that's very important too. But we're here, each one of us, for different reasons. I do truly believe today, and I don't mean this to sound egotistical because I don't like that, but I am here to give this message for those that want to listen. I've experienced a lot. There's much more that many things I don't know. But if my experiences can help somebody else, even if it's just a few people right now, before I pass, I've done my job here. And I'm absolutely getting help right now. I don't often say that, but I feel that so many people around me from the other side, and I'm getting my apparently now famous goosebumps all over me. You don't have to listen to me, but if you do and you want to open up, I am here for you. I've experienced a lot in this life, and I will continue to have these experiences. And Steve, I'm so happy that I've been able to pass this on to you, and it's bringing tears to my eyes too. And I'm happy I'm here in this studio. It makes me very happy.
And of course, I had to be ready to be here at this moment.
Well, at this point now where I am in my life, for someone to be as close to me and for me to be coming here this often too, there's reasons where I'm going. Otherwise, I'd feel that energy wouldn't be there.
Right.
So that explains that actually too.
Well, I think it fulfills a void in a lot of people's lives. I think that the amount of time that it gets to fill that void, it really doesn't make a difference. I think that the impact of it coming, acknowledging it, and seeing it, all of a sudden changes your life. And without the naysayers, then everything would be yes.
Yeah.
Right? There wouldn't be anything for a calling to be. So with the yin and the yang of life, we are always going to meet those that don't believe and those that do believe. And then you have people that give you an opinion of something you think that might be even more visual than what you see, and therefore increases the awareness of it. Sometimes I've noticed, Sally, that when you talk to people, you lay a seed so that they can enhance what it is you're saying. And it's a nice way of them complimenting and agreeing to what you're talking about, which is really, that's what I've learned from you.
Right. Well, and that makes me feel good too, Freddie, because my messages come to me, and many times perhaps when I'm even talking just in a social setting, it's happening. I'm not aware, I'm aware of it because I know that's what happens. I have to answer these questions. But it's a process. We have to begin to open up. Without that, let's say a closed mind, it's not going to happen. But there has to, which I often mention too, a balance. So that balance is people that don't believe and people that do believe. But if you continue with the truth, with your message, the people that believe are going to begin to believe more, understand more, and have things validate. The ones that are on the other side of this, it doesn't make them bad people. They're just not ready. Maybe in the next lifetime, maybe 10 lives from now. But the thing is, I have to continue with my belief to them, for the ones, because I don't know the ones that believe and the ones that don't believe, only by their questions to me.
Just like the gentleman that was here, the dancer, just said to you, and I was standing right next to him, he said to you, this is the way I felt, and I was afraid to expose how I felt. And he met you, and he says, and finally I have somebody who feels the same way I feel and can explain it to me, and that was an amazing moment.
Exactly, and had I have not even, and I didn't speak much because, I was just in the audience here, but from the few words that I had said, he felt comfortable enough, and I was just talking about something I can't even remember, to come over to me and see what I was doing and wanted to ask me questions. Thank you. I think it's goodbye for now. See you all next week. Thank you very much. Coincidence or not, it's time to trust your intuition and knowings. Thank you for joining me through this journey of self-discovery and awakening with the help of my spirit guides. I'm Sally Bernard, and you can find my book, artwork, and contact through artbysallybernard.com. Join us next week. This has been Call Me Zena.